You know, some of my best memories happened on a playground just like this. Of course, some of my most painful memories happened on a playground just like this. When I was a kid and the bell would ring for recess and the doors would fly open, all the kids would run straight to the kickball diamond. And they'd stand around home plate waiting for the most important event of their day. Tony Huber and Terry Bias, they were nearly always the team captains. Well, because they were the biggest and they were the strongest, they'd proven themselves on the field of battle, which is why we were afraid of them and why they were team captains. They would begin by choosing for their team the biggest and the strongest. They would choose those who were the fastest and who could kick the ball the farthest. And as required in 1974, the boys who wore the coolest bell-bottom pants. Now, the kids who were chosen last almost always were those who were shorter and they were weaker and they didn't run as fast and usually wore their brother's hand-me-downs. Nobody wanted those kids. And so what would start out as a group of hopefuls was slowly reduced to a handful of the hopeless. And in my school, on my playground, there were always 3 boys left standing. There was Michael, there was Junior, and then there was me. Our lack of kickball skill was legendary. I mean, we were born playground challenged, right? For some cruel act of fate, we were kickball deficient. And so when it came time to play, nobody wanted us. Michael was dumpy and he was slow. Junior was frail. He could barely kick the ball past the pitcher's mound. And I was terrified of the ball. And so when the picking was all done and we were standing there, if we were going to play at all, it wasn't because we were selected for a team. It was because we were appointed to one. You know, Terry would say to Tony, he'd say, okay, we got these 3 left again. Tell you what, I'll take Michael this time and you can have Junior and Kurt, I guess. One time Tony even said, nah, you can have all 3. Let's just play. And it happened that way every time. Well, you know, every time but once. One time, Terry was absent. And so we needed a new team captain. So of the boys that were standing around home plate, out steps Dane Anderson. All right, Dane Anderson. You got to understand, in 5th grade, Dane Anderson, amazing. All right? He had this perfect blonde long hair that was parted in the middle and had feathered on the side. You remember? And he had broad shoulders and he had a thick neck. Dane Anderson in 5th grade was shaving. All right? So when he stepped out and folded his arms and made his announcement, I'll be team captain. Everybody, yes, I choose Dane. All right? So we all wanted him to be that. And so they started choosing back and forth. All right? Tony chose Doug Mills because Tony always chose Doug Mills. Dane chose Dwayne Hughes. Tony chose Brent Rohrig. Dane chose Mike Miller. And back and forth it went. All right? And then something happened that had never happened before. Early in the lineup, Dane's looking over the teams, looking over the boys that's left. And he announces, I'll take Kurt Austin. Everyone stopped. They looked at Dane, and then they looked at me. I looked at Dane, and then I looked at me. You want Kurt on your team? You want to choose him? Yeah, he's with me. Dane chose me. I'm on Dane's team. It's something I had wanted all my life. It's something I had longed for. It's something I had dreamed of. And on this day, on this playground at Farmland Elementary School, it happened. It's a day that's burned in my memory. It's a day I will never forget, to hear him call my name. Well, I guess I am reminded of it nearly every time I open the Gospels and I look there at Jesus. He's like a 5th grade team captain standing on home plate, getting ready to select his team. Man, he could choose from anyone, right? The religious leaders, the rich rulers, the social elite. But he does something different. Instead, he chooses people that are just like me. He chooses the socially challenged, the life deficient. He surrounds himself with those folks. He calls those people. I mean, he pointed to a tax collector in a tree and invited him for lunch. The woman at the well, he looked her right in the eye. He called stinky fishermen to follow him. A woman caught in adultery, he forgave. He reached down and he took the hand of a lame man and lifted him to his feet. Jesus chose them. Jesus called them. And it isn't any different today. I mean, Jesus still looks into our hearts and sees our greatest desires. And if that greatest desire is to follow him, then he looks past our weaknesses. He overlooks our shortcomings. And he chooses us. And when he does, it's this day we will never forget.